Have you ever heard your name whispered in the dead of night by something you couldn't see? What if that whisper wasn't just in your head? What if it meant death was already on its way? This isn't just a ghost story. It's a warning. Because in a quiet village in Ireland, something ancient still cries in the dark. And once you hear her, she never stops calling. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear isn't fiction. It's a true encounter with the Banshee, and not everyone who hears her lives to tell the tale. You ever hear the scream of something that isn't supposed to exist? I mean, a scream that doesn't come from any living thing. You know I did once, and I'm still not sure if I survived it. I was 17 when I went to visit my grandmother in a tiny village in County Clare. She lived alone since Granddad passed, a little cottage near the edge of a foggy hill where the grass never dried. The people in town avoided that hill. They said the wind there didn't sound right. Too many stories about things that cried in the dark and vanished before dawn. I laughed at them back then until the night I heard it for myself. It started with the mirror. It was this old cracked thing in the guest room, hung crooked like it was afraid to show you too much. I remember brushing my hair and seeing something behind me. Not a face, not even a shape, just this flicker of white, like someone passing the door real slow. But when I turned, there was nothing, only silence and the ticking of Granddad's old clock downstairs. The next morning, Gran looked tired, said she didn't sleep well. Said she heard her name whispered over and over just before dawn. I didn't tell her what I saw, didn't want to worry her. But that night, it came back, the crying. It was faint at first, like someone far away in the hills sobbing into the wind. But the longer I listened, the closer it got, until it was just outside the window. I froze. I couldn't move. It sounded like a woman, but wrong, too hollow, too broken, like her voice had been dragged across stones for centuries. Then she said my name. Not shouted, whispered over and over. The way a mother calls a child she's already lost. I finally ran to Gran's room. She was sitting up in bed, staring at the door. She looked at me and said, "She's here, isn't she?" She said it like she'd been waiting. Like she always knew this day would come. I asked who. She didn't answer, just told me to bring her the silver comb from the drawer, said it belonged to her mother, and her mother before that, and it kept the Banshee from crossing the threshold. I didn't ask why it worked. I just ran. The crying had stopped, but I could feel her behind me. Not walking, gliding like the air itself moved with her. I found the comb cold and heavier than it should have been, ran back and placed it in Gran's hand. She held it tight and whispered something in Irish I didn't understand. And the silence that followed was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. The next morning, Gran was gone. No sign of a struggle, just her slippers by the bed, the comb still clutched in her hand, and one long strand of white hair on the floor. I tried to leave that day, but the fog wouldn't lift. The road vanished after a mile, and when I turned around, the cottage looked farther than it should have been. Like the land was stretching itself, keeping me in. The villagers didn't help. They wouldn't talk to me, wouldn't even look at me, except for one old man who finally whispered, "She's chosen you now. She never takes," without leaving something behind. That night I didn't sleep. I just stared into the mirror, waiting, wondering if she'd come through. At exactly 3 in the morning, the glass rippled, not broke, just moved, like something behind it was breathing. Then I saw her pale skin, like moonlight on bone, eyes like empty wells, and hair that floated, as if underwater. She didn't smile, she didn't blink, she just wept, and every tear that hit the floor vanished before I could catch it. I asked what she wanted. She raised one finger to her lips, and then pointed to the comb. It had turned black and was crumbling to dust. I woke up on the floor at sunrise, but it wasn't over. It never is. Every night she comes closer. Sometimes I hear her singing, sometimes she just watches, but always she's there. Waiting. I left Ireland a year ago, thought distance might stop her, but it didn't. Now, the mirror in my apartment fogs up at midnight, even when it's warm, and sometimes, just sometimes, I see a flicker of white pass behind me. I tried to throw the mirror out, but it came back, and last night I found the comb on my pillow, only now it's full black. And warm to the touch. I know what that means. The crying will start again soon. And when it does, she'll be standing right behind me, waiting. Because once you've heard the Banshee cry, you never really stop hearing it, even when you're awake, even when you're miles away. She never forgets the name she calls, and she never lets it go. So if you ever hear crying on the wind, don't listen, don't look, and whatever you do, don't answer, because the moment you do,